Hello, this is Dave with ShotCare, and we're going to go through an overview of the ShotCare program. First thing I want to do is go into Help. One of the things that you'll notice here is we have a log off button, so you can log off right from this screen. You can also log off from the student maintenance screen. A couple items I want to point out is the primary review table. A lot of times people would like to have the PDF of the most current primary review table. You can click primary review table, then go and click on the link, and it'll take you to that. Also the immunization handbook. So if you need the immunization handbook, you can go there. There's also some other help situations, file submissions, and so forth that take you to YouTube videos, and usually they do help out. Let me close that out. Next thing is student maintenance. Now we've already loaded some students here, but we can go in there and we can select a student, for example, and we can make some changes to it. Change some of the names, features, the grade level, and so forth. Do that. Now if there's an asterisk right here next to that line, an asterisk up there, that means that there was a modification but hasn't been saved yet. And we do suggest that you save quite often, since this is an internet application. So we'll hit the save button, save that, the asterisk go away. Go to the immunization part of it. You can see there's already some immunizations there. Let's enter some varicella data. So we'll put in 12, 18, 94. The program's smart enough to know that it means 1994. We don't have to put in the actual type of dose. It'll default it to vaccine. So we'll change that to 2/17/95. And then we'll just save it. We can also assess the student by hitting the Assess Student button. We can print the immunizations for this particular student. And we can save that either to a PDF file or we can print it off. There's different options here. Close that down. We can also report students as state. And what that does is, in case you have a question about a student, you don't quite understand exactly what the assessment is, you click on that and then you type in a question, and it sends that information along with the student information. Not too much demographic to identify the student, but enough so that they can look at it and review it, and all the immunization information and the assessment. And then they'll get back, the state health department will get back to you of why it assessed the way that it did. List students will list all of your students, and along with the overall assessment. Parent notice, if you want to make a parent notice for this particular student. You can also do parent notices in mass, and I'll show you that later. You can also toggle the menu bar by clicking this button. Gives you a little bit more surface room here. There's the menu items up here. We'll toggle that back on. And you can also log off from this particular screen. Now, even though you do see the overall assessment right here, you can see the individual assessments by clicking on the assessment tab, and you can go down there and you can see the different ones. So that's helpful to identify which particular doses have a problem. Another feature on this screen is the copy student. So if you enter a student and then that student has a sibling, you can copy the first student and then paste it into the second student, and then you don't have to type in all of the demographic information. It doesn't copy over the immunizations, but just the demographics. So let's close that screen out. And we'll go down to deleted students. But before we do that, let's go into student maintenance and actually delete a student. Close this one. So let's delete the first student, for example. So we'll click on the X button. We'll hit save. Test 2 is no longer there. Go to the deleted students. And there's test 2. Put them back into the active students. We delete them off of this list. Hit save. Go back to student maintenance. And we'll do a refresh. And there you'll see the test 2 student there. Next thing we're going to show is the import-export feature. So if you have another system that you want to import the information from, you can go to this screen, and then these are all of the different headings and the different values that it's expecting. Create a CSV file, and then you can import that student data. You can also export your existing student data, and that's nice if you want to create like almost like a backup of your data. So then you would have it as a CSV, and you could potentially reload that file. Okay, the next thing that I want to go through is the facility submission section. So let's first delete or remove some of these tabs. Facility submission, let's go to the facility dashboard. This is just some basic information about each of your facilities. Shows the administrator, manual filing, the software end date, how many students you have, and the last mass assessment that you did, what the totals are for that. All right, let's close that one out. And we'll go to the facility report request. Now here we can request a variety of different reports. One of the first things you might want to do is assess all students, and that'll assess every student with the current date. So we'll click that right now. We'll assess all of our students. And then we can do a student list, give us a list of students, and not only a list of students, but all the detail of that student, and whether they're up to date or complete or an exemption, and their overall plus the individual series. Let's close that one out. We can do parent notices, and like the one for the individual student, this one does it for all students in your school that need a shot. So in this case, this kid needs Tdap 7, hepatitis B number 3, A number 2, and varicella number 2. Susceptibility report, that's a very useful report in case you have an outbreak. You can say measles. Click on the print button, and then you'll get a list of all the students that should be excluded from your school while there's a measles epidemic going on. Complete insufficient, no record list, just a list of all your kids that are under those categories. Publish statistics, what that does is 30 days prior to school, you need to publish your statistics of the number of kids you have, and then the percentages of where they're complete in the various series. And you also have to do it 30 days after the exclusion date. So you would just click the Publish Statistic button, and then you would go over to the facility dashboard, and we'll select that school, and we'll click this external link, and then it'll show you the facility status report for that particular school with all the percentages. And then you would post a link to your website or copy this information to your website, and also print it off so that you would have it available at the schools. All right, let's close that particular tab, and we're done with the facility report request, so let's close that off. Next thing we'd like to do is go into the facility maintenance and submission. So here we can edit the facility information. So if the administrator changes, or the title, or the address, or even the facility name itself, we can change it there. We can also assess all students. When we click that button, it'll use whatever date is up here, which defaults to the current date, and it'll assess all the students. The next part is the actual student assessment and submission process itself. So this is going to be done when we're doing our regular submission. So the first thing is we're going to assess the students. So we'll click on that, step 1. Gives you a little message saying that it may take a while, and if we want to continue, we'll say yes. And then it says that it completed that step, and now we may proceed to step 2. So then we'll click on step 2 where we create the submission. Again, it'll ask us to verify it. We'll say yes. Then it completed that portion of it, and now we'll be taken to step 3. So we'll hit OK. And at this point, we get a list of all of our submissions that we've done. We just created this one right here. So we'll select that. And then we'll go to submission detail. This screen will show us some Section A information, and we also identify the type of program, the person completing it, the report, their email address, the grade served, and if there's students that are not to be counted, then we include that there. It'll also include all the kids that are excluded from the count from your student information system. It'll also display some summary information down here, which is part of Section A. You can print Section A just to verify it. So there's Section A. Close that. We can also go show details. Gives you a list of all the students that are going to be reported. We can also print the student detail report. Click that now. Print Section A, we already did that. We can print sections B, C, and D. Though we normally wouldn't, because that's a turnaround document that the health department will send back to you, especially if you're electronically filing. If you're not electronically filing, then you would print all of these reports out. So we'll close this up. Since we are doing electronic filing, then we are going to submit this information to the local health department. And to do that, we click on the Submit to Health Department button. Now, once we have done that, if the health department hasn't accepted it or from the facility, then we can retract it from the health department and make more changes. These two buttons, Accept from Facility and Reject from Facility, only show up if you are the health department. If you're not the health department, you're not going to get these buttons. You can only submit it and reject it if you're a regular preschool. So as the health department, I'm going to accept the information from the facility. So now, as the local health department, we would go to Show Details. Again, we'll be able to see all the students. We can print the student detail report, we can print Section A, we can print Section B, C, and D, and we can also print out the no exclusion orders, no record exclusion orders, and the incomplete insufficient exclusion orders. So normally this would be done in the IRIS system, but you can print it directly from this system also. Close that one down. We'll do the incomplete insufficient. And there's that information. Close that. Now, in addition to actually printing the exclusion orders out, you can let the schools know that you've actually mailed them. So you can click on this button here indicating that, yes, we mailed all of them, but maybe we didn't mail a couple of these. And then we can save that. And then the preschool can know which ones got mailed. And on their side of it, when they go into the program, they can determine which students actually got excluded or not. So it gives a lot more depth and knowledge of what's happening to that student population. Okay, so we've gone through the entire exclusion process, and now there's a couple of other things that we can do. Let me close this out. And for the school, what they would do is at the proper time, we would create sections E, F, G, and H. So the school would create it. And at that point, the health department and the school can print sections E, F, G, and H. So we'll print that out. And there's the reports for that particular section, E, F, G, and H. And that completes the entire cycle for the immunization process, the submission, the exclusion portion of it. If you have any questions, feel free to call or email me at dave@shotcare.com. Thank you very much.